What's up, guys? Welcome to Huddle the Hardwood, your home for Michigan State basketball. My name is Jacob.
Oh, sorry. We have to do a recap to this game. Very good, yes. My name is Holden, and welcome to the recap of the Michigan State-Michigan game. This recap will have a little bit of a different vibe to it, just because this is our first recap that we've had to do where Michigan State did not come out with the victory. So in today's recap, we will just go over quickly the box score on some of the key performances from Sunday's game. Then we will talk about a couple of sound bites from Tom Izzo's post-game press conference. He had a couple of things to say after the game that I thought would be interesting topic of conversation to have. And then after that, we'll just get into our normal positives and negative takeaways from the game. And then we'll just finish off by looking ahead to the Big Ten tournament and what Michigan State has up next. But yeah, to start this video, I'll just send it off to you to go over the box score and some of our key players from the game.
Yeah, so to start
Hmm.
things off with us, it, we had Jackson Kohler finally really light things up. He had 23 points today, leading the way for us. He shot the ball really well. Looking at it, he was 2 for 4 from three and 10 for 13 from the field. Missing only three shots is crazy. That was followed by Jeremy Fears, who had 22 points and he had 9 assists, shooting 5 for 13. He had a terrible shooting game, to be honest with you. A lot of his points came from the line. He had 10 points
How
from the
many
free
did he
throw
hit
line.
three threes? I think he hit two or three
He was
threes.
2 for 3 from three, 10 for 12 at the free throw line. But if you were, I'm sure everyone was watching the game that's watching this. Jeremy, not very good game. The stats don't really tell what really happened. But then Coop had 19 points, as the announcers referred to him, Koopa Loop.
Oh yeah.
The Koopa Loop had
What
19 points.
I think they were referring to it when they
His
like threw
alley-oop.
the alley oop to
Uh,
him, and then it was like the Koopa Loop. I just
the
remember
Koopa
dying
Loop.
laughing.
Oh, yeah, I wrote that down because I thought it was funny. But yeah, we had some no-shows from a couple players too. Cohen, I don't know. He left his bags in East Lansing. He did not show up. He had one good dunk, and that was about it from the game. Played not
Yeah,
very good defense
Perez's
either.
nether regions in his face,
Yeah. And
unfortunately.
then Jordan Scott, another player that absolutely did not show up, and he wasn't in foul trouble this game either. So he played 33 minutes and had a whopping 2 points, 1 for 7 from the field, 0 for 3 from three. So we had a few players that really didn't show up, and then off the bench, we had 8 total points from Kurt Tang, and the rest didn't score at all. And Cam Ward had problems keeping his hands to himself, so he got in foul trouble pretty early. And then moving on to the other team, Yaxel at 27. It's probably time for him to get a job. It's his third senior night, and I mean, think it's time, buddy. I don't even
His
know how.
third senior night?
Yeah, it's his third senior night. Um, and yeah, because I mean, he's had 6 years, so.
I thought it was only a fifth, but
No, six, and yeah, so three senior nights, and he's somehow doesn't have a degree yet. His degree, it's taken him 6 years to get a degree in social work, which there's nothing against a degree in social work, but taking 6 years to do that is
he's
kind
not
of.
going to use it anyway, so
No, he's
it's
gonna be at the local gas station next year, and
I don't know about that. I don't know.
doing some DoorDash and working third shifts at Speedway. But yeah, and then Morez Johnson had a good game. He had 18 points. Their bench really contributed, and I know we talked a little bit about some of these players not really contributing, which they did. Roddy Gale had 15. I know we were talking about how he wasn't really a threat in our last video, and he sure showed up today. They only had three guys come off their bench, which is pretty unusual for them. I know they're missing Kaysen, but usually they're doing 4 or 5 guys. But yeah, and then Trey McKinney added 12 too. So uh yeah, I mean we just couldn't stop Yaxel. It felt like Yaxel, anything he threw up just went in. It felt like he was throwing a rock into the ocean. So, but yeah, I mean, with all that being said, let's talk about what Coach Izzo had to say.
Yeah, before we get into Mr. Izzo, I guess I'll just give my 2 cents on how we played just a little bit. Yeah, like you were talking about earlier, I thought it was a great game from Jackson. Thought he was pretty much getting anything that he wanted all game, and he looked really good. He was really assertive, and he was really assertive, especially in the post. He was pulling out like pretty much all his post move bag, and he was knocking them all down in a high clip. Even sometimes they would switch guards on him, and he would just had the one-on-one advantage, and he was able to score. And then sometimes he just went straight at someone like Mara or Merez or Cheddar, and just was getting all he wanted. And then he was shooting off the outside, super aggressive. So I like the way he played. Carson Cooper, I thought he had an awesome game. He had a lot of tough finishes at the rim. He was great on the boards again. So I think it was a great overall performance from him. We've been having a string of really good performances from those two. So I'm really liking the trajectory of that, and hopefully we can keep that going. And then yeah, Jeremy Fears had a good box score game, got a lot of points from the free throw line because some of them were due to his flopping stuff, some of them weren't. Some of them were Michigan with some hard fouls and stuff like that, which we'll get into. But I mean, overall, he still controls, the offense. I think he had a good game, regardless of, his shooting and stuff like that. Like, you can't say he played bad if he had 22 and 9. So, but other than that, yeah, Yaks wasn't missing. They had really good production off their bench. They shot really good from three, which is that as a result of one of the negatives I have that we'll talk later. Just I think we struggled with ball screens and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tom Izzo did have some stuff to say after the game. I have a couple of sound bites I'll just play off of my phone here. First one is regarding, it was pretty much the first thing that he said as soon as like he hopped into the media room. He just was responding to the comments of the student section or just the entire Chrysler Arena just chanting "Little Brother." So this is what Tom Izzo had to say.
Guess the crowd didn't watch the game because I'm his damn little brother. And neither is my team. I'm really proud of my team, how they played and what they did.
So yeah, there's that. I just would like to first off say that you can talk about Michigan State athletics being a little brother when it comes to other sports and stuff like that. That's
Like
they have
football,
yeah.
but what hockey and basketball, no.
There's some validity behind some other sports, but when you're talking about basketball, definitely not. Um, especially during Tom Izzo's tenure, Tom Izzo's absolutely owned Michigan. For one, Tom Izzo is 36 and 18 all time against Michigan, so he's got almost 20 more wins than they do against us. Well, against him. And then this is Michigan's first like season sweep going 2-0 against Michigan State since 2013. So it's been 13 years since Michigan's done that, and we've done that countless times. So when it comes to the last 30 plus years, I'm sorry, but we are nowhere close to being a little brother. Michigan hasn't even gotten 20 wins against us in the last 30 years. So I don't want to
Well,
hear
to
any of
add
that.
on to that, not even in the last 30 years, just in general in the history of Michigan State and Michigan basketball, the only category that Michigan has over Michigan State is head-to-head wins. Other than that, Michigan State has more Final Fours, more national championships, and then there's some other stats too.
Big Ten
Big
championships.
Ten
And they'll
championship.
probably start to add up their regular season and their
Even if they do that,
tournament
we'll still.
championships, and they'll try to add them all together. Like, oh, this is how many total champion. Big Ten was like, okay, then we'll do the same for
Yeah,
us,
I
and we'll
mean,
start
I'm
adding
not
them up.
worried if they do that because we
Yeah, it's just like
more regardless. But literally in everything other than head-to-head wins, which those head-to-head wins, they like to count wins from the 1820s. So I don't know, the head-to-head wins are taken with a grain of salt. But take away that and you just like you said, go in the last 30 years, like
which is a big sample size. It's not like we're like, oh, well, we've won
yeah,
like so much out of the last 5 years. Like, no, we're taking 30 years, and you guys have
yeah.
won less than
Like we
20
have in
games.
the last 30 years, we have more national championships, more national championship appearances, more Final Fours. Or actually, I think we have the same national championship appearances. We both have
Latest
two.
two.
But yeah, so it's like, I mean, when it comes to football, sure, but like basketball, absolutely not. And even hockey, they don't even have a Big Ten championship in hockey ever, which is kind of crazy to think about.
They don't have one. They've been pretty.
No,
We
no,
just three-peated in
yeah,
hockey, so
we three-peated, so I mean that's what a good program looks like. So
it's
maybe they're gonna
just
have to cheat again to become a.
yeah, it's just so frustrating because especially when it comes to the basketball program, they will not be there through the bad times. Like they'll like arena will be completely empty. They don't care. They don't talk about it. They're still talking about football throughout the basketball season. Then when it gets to March time, then they'll start to look as like, oh, is Michigan in the race to, go make the tournament, or what about the Big Ten or something like that? Then they'll start to pay attention when it gets close to the end, and then they'll act like they've been there the whole time. Or for this instance, I feel like they've been there most of the season just because, they're winning and they're like, all right, let's hop on and let's act like we've been loyal basketball fans this whole time. And then it's just annoying because it's just whenever like they don't care about this sport until, they're actually good and relevant
They're
again.
definitely
It's
fair
just
weather fans, so
and they don't know how to act too. Like they're finally good, and then they act like they've been better than us this entire time, and that we were just like nothing compared to them. And it's just like, dude, we've owned you guys in this sport. Like this is our state of Michigan is Michigan State basketball, not Michigan basketball. Like
yeah.
it's just they don't know how to act.
No, I agree. I agree, absolutely.
All right. Well, and then he did have something to say after a little bit after that. When he was asked a question about the whole Jeremy Fears situation, uh, how he reacted after that. He brought up that he is sick of it being, one-sided. All the coverage is on Jeremy Fears and not all the other plays and all the other plays that happened throughout the game. But I'll let Tom Izzo do the explanation on that.
I'm not talking about that. You know what? I don't think he did anything on purpose. I think it was a reaction. I don't know the whole deal about it. It was a critical play, as they all are. But I thought Jeremy Fears played his ass off 99% of that game. And you know what? I did what I was going to do. I chewed him out for it, but I watched it on tape and guys pushing him in the back. And sometimes that stuff happens. I'm sick of it being one-sided, though. That's what upset me about the first time. So Fears will get his lunch from me. I wonder if some of their guys will get their lunch from what happened in the first game. That didn't get public. And he made them all.
So yeah. So we're not going to sit here and condone some of the stuff that Jeremy Fears has been doing because we're just as mad as anybody else is when it comes to some of the plays that he's making and unnecessary, you know, just movements that he's making towards other players. You could say it's on accident all you want, or it's a natural reaction, but it really isn't. Like, I don't get pushed over and kick my foot up and stuff like that. Like, we're not going to sit here and condone anything like that. But on the same token, it's just as soon as he does, and there's such a big microscope on him, it's so frustrating. Anytime that he gets close to doing anything, the refs are all over it, the media's all over it.
Oh,
And
they
like,
always have a highlight reel ready as soon as
yeah.
like he even touches a hair on another guy.
Well, the reaction that pissed me off the most was when, obviously he's like, Cadeau was the one guarding him. Cadeau pushed him, all this kind of stuff. Jeremy Fears kicks his leg up. Cadeau didn't even realize or flinch or that anything happened. Then he realized, he goes, oh, wait, Jeremy Fears just did that. He's like, look at it, look at it. Like, it didn't even affect him. Like, it's not like he got hurt or anything like that. But then go into what Tom Izzo said after that, like, yeah, I'll hold my guy accountable. Like, I'll talk to him. We've already done it multiple times, even though like it keeps repeating offend. Like he's like a repeat offender. But Tom, like you saw, like directly after that, Tom Izzo got right in his face and was yelling at him for doing stuff
Oh
like
yeah.
that. And so then he was just like, yeah, like I'll give my player his lunch for it. Like I'll give him, I'll give him reparations for it. But he's like, I wonder if the other guys on the other side will get theirs because he's just like, I don't think Dusty's going to hold his players accountable for making the dirty plays that they were doing throughout that game. He'll probably just, brush it aside or applaud them for doing so. Like, oh yeah, they deserve it. Jeremy Fears is doing it. Like, and just to end it off, like Jeremy Fears gets all the media coverage, he gets all the people hating on him, but then Mara makes 2 to 3 plays that like he got the calls in that game, but you don't see like you don't go look on social media and see Mara pushing or grabbing Jeremy Fears' face or all that kind of stuff. It's all just one-sided on Jeremy Fears.
Yeah,
So
well, it comes down to a couple things. And I mean, if you look at Mara, he had three personal fouls that game. Two of them were technical slash flagrant fouls, which is ridiculous. He's one of the most dirtiest players in college basketball. And when it comes to Jeremy Fears like gets a lot not only from like just the media but like his own fan base as well. Like like hold him accountable. We don't accept it. Coach Izzo doesn't accept it. He knows it's not acceptable and yada yada yada. But the problem I have is we're able to accept responsibility and accountability for our players' action, but it just goes to how the whole University of Michigan
they just get away
handles
with
things.
everything.
They do their little Michigan man thing, which for those who don't know, being a Michigan man is being a cheater, a liar, and lacking accountability. Those are the three things that a Michigan man is, and it's self-explanatory to see how that university's been acting over the past 6 years and
They
the
just get
amount of
away with everything.
scandals. And yeah, so it's like they're not going to hold Mara accountable until someone in the NCAA does. But if the NCAA does something, they're going to lie about it, as they did when they're investigating their cheating in 2023. It's just they Michigan fans and people at university, they think being a Michigan man is something special, but literally they're the only ones that think that way. If you're not in Ann Arbor or not a fan of Michigan, if anyone says they're a Michigan man, people on the outside looking at them as a cheater, liar, and a person that lacks accountability. So with all that being said, I've rested my case, and I think that it's unacceptable for both Jeremy and Amara to be acting in that kind of way. Um, but yeah, okay, so I'm gonna end the conversation with a little positive though. I thought it was kind of funny that within a 5 minute span there was three technical fouls.
Yeah.
Um, there was a tech from Jeremy, tech from Mara, and a tech from Morez. And while it is
Or wasn't it? It was
bad,
McKinney because it was McKinney because he ran by and hit the ball out of
I thought it was
Jackson's hand.
Morez who did that.
No, no, that was McKinney for sure.
Oh. Well, anyways, so while that is bad, like while that is bad, and I was just talking about how bad it is, I do think that it's kind of in a way good for the rivalry because uh
Yeah.
I was it made Michigan look a lot worse when their players started reacting because we only had one incident with Jeremy. They had three different instances. They had Mara twice and McKinney once.
Yeah.
But I do think this brings hatred back to the rivalry, and to see how excited that they were to beat us kind of made me feel good inside, to be honest, because I mean clearly we mean a lot to them. And I mean, it's a rivalry. It should be that way. A win should mean a lot to that program to beat us, and vice versa. It should mean a lot for us to beat them. So it did make me feel good in a sense that we're so important to them that,
Piggybacking off of like what you said about like the first 5 minutes and stuff, that like that whole game in general, especially on like you'll get the times where Jeremy Fears might get fouled and he might say something to the ref and just look at him for stuff, but literally the entire game, anything that happened ever, like if the ball went out of bounds on Michigan and it was called our ball, or someone accidentally grabbed someone for too long and it wasn't called, or just literally any little thing that didn't go Michigan's way. Either Dusty May challenged it during the timeout. There was something that we didn't think that needed a challenge. He challenged it. He's always looking for review. Or every single dead ball, it seemed like every Michigan player was like, "Oh, review that, review that, review that." It's like everything that happens to not go their way, they think that for some reason that they didn't do anything wrong and that the refs are wrong and it's going to be their ball their way no matter what. It's just like every time the whistle blew, it felt like they were complaining, saying that that's not what happened. That's not what I did. Like it was just so annoying that entire game, the way that they were acting.
agreed. It's the
But
entitlement that they have. So
mhm.
they think they're entitled to everything. But anyways, we're gonna be here for 5 hours if we keep talking about this. So we're gonna move on to some of the positives of the game. I guess I'll start. I Overall, I don't think we necessarily played bad. We shot the ball decently well for the players that showed up. Our offense for especially in the first couple minutes, we kind of took control a little bit and we lost
With our
it.
defense too.
Yeah, our
Like our de
defense was
they're
pretty
playing
good
really
all
good.
game. I mean, the score might not show it and the stats might not show it, but Michigan shot close to like over 70% from the field, and they were making some tough shots. Like Michigan State was smothering them, and they were just, there was some shots I just couldn't even be mad at. I just respected it. And like that was just a tough shot. And it wasn't like lucky shots. They were consistently doing it. And I'm just like, there's nothing more we could do. Um, so like I don't know, they were definitely hot that night, and I I am confident going into March with how we played against Michigan because knowing that they're considered one of the top four teams in the country and the second national title favorite, they might be first now that Foster for Duke is out.
Oh,
Um,
he is? I
yeah,
didn't know
he
that.
did broke his foot or something in practice. As yeah, Isaiah Foster and but yeah, to know we could hang with a team like that and with how well they shot the ball because they're not going to shoot 70% every single game. I mean, they're going to shoot the ball well because they have been all year, but they're not going to shoot the ball as well as they did on Sunday against us. So I am um, looking forward to seeing the hunger and the momentum that this carries into March. And then the other thing I'm going to touch on is Coop had 8 of the first 13 points of the game. Jeremy had the other five. It is a positive for Coop and Jeremy, but it's a negative for the team as a whole. Like the fact that we had only two players score our first 13 points is kind of ridiculous, but shout out to Coop for real. And then my last positive before I'm going to kick it off to you is Jordan, while he had a terrible shooting game and was non-existent on offense, he played pretty well on defense. He was flying all over the court. It felt like he had a million steals. I don't know how many steals
And
he had.
blocks too. He was
He
blocking.
was all over the court defensively and hustling everywhere. And I really loved how he played on defense. So he just got to fix the offense a little bit. But anyways, that was my positives for the game. How are you feeling?
Yeah, so I got a couple things on here too. Um, One being the first thing is that we held Elliot Cadeau to 2 points. He was a big factor in the last time that we played them, and I think Jeremy Fears did a really good job defensively on him and pretty much held him in check to not really do much.
Um,
The only time that he scored was when Jeremy Fears was out of the game, and you had that where Cadeau just kind of went downhill on Dunham Wojcik, and I don't I don't think he pushed off at all. I think it was just strictly weight room, and he just kind of bodied him and then went flying and he scored. But other than that, we held him in check, and then I also wrote down that we held Mara to 4. Granted, a lot of that was self-inflicted by Mara, just taking himself out of the game by being a dirty player. But I think overall we held him pretty well. Granted, how much of a factor he also was in the first time that we played them. First time we played them in the first half specifically, I remember he was just going to work in the post and we couldn't really stop him. So we did pretty good job against both those guys, and I think Coop did a good job against Mara most of the game when he was in there. And then I just wrote down strong start for us because we had that. I think we got to a 7-0 lead, maybe 7-2, where we were uh, playing really good on defense. Like we were for like I was really confident to start the game because we went off to that start where I think they started 0 for 5 shooting for Michigan. We were contesting really well, forcing them to shoot tough shots, and then we were taking advantage on the offensive end. But obviously we lost that, and then it got to a little back and forth from there. But we did have a strong start, which we've been begging for more consistently lately. And then my last two positives, I just wrote down Jackson Coop because I thought they played an A+ game today or Sunday. I thought they played an A+ game. They were just aggressive, playing good on both ends of the court. Jackson kind of struggled a little bit because sometimes he had to switch on to Yaxel, sorry, because of fouls and all that kind of stuff and just how the game was going. So he struggled on defense just a little bit because he had that mismatch. But on the offensive end, both those two were, our saving grace that game. And they've been really consistent for us. So to hope to keep that going. But other than that, we can move it on to some of the negatives. I know both of us have a handful on here. But before I get to the negatives too, I would just like to say, like, I think overall we played a good basketball game. Didn't have some great games from a certain few players, but overall, I think we played really well. I think if we critique a couple of things, I think we can win that game and we can win next time. So, um, but yeah, other than that, I'll kick it off to you. What are some of the things that stuck out to you negatively?
Yeah, so my biggest negative I'm gonna hold until the end and we'll have a little discussion about it. But one thing I noticed is that some of our players were hesitating their shots. It wasn't as bad as the first time we played Michigan, but there was a few times where I saw some players hesitate. There was a lot of early fouling from the bigs. I think all four of our bigs had a foul within like the first 5 minutes of the game. Not good. So like you said, we started out that first like 3.5 minutes, very strong, very happy with how they played. And then that last like minute to 30 seconds of the first 4 minutes, our offense just came to a standstill. We stopped moving on offense and we stopped trying to help create for each other. And it cost us, and they ended up going on a big run, taking the lead, and then we didn't hold the lead again for quite a while. Uh, and then our offense, like after that first 3 minutes, like n just not even speaking on the last like minute or so, it continued on for the first like 8 to 12 minutes of the game before we started to get it going again. And from the first 8 minutes on, like I wrote down, it feels like Michigan just had control of the game. It just felt like we were always playing catch up, and if we were to hold a lead, like we would have to play perfect to hold that lead, and it just felt like they had control. Um, they really did a good job. Michigan did a good job holding Michigan State to no offensive rebounds. We had very few, especially in that first half. I don't know what we ended up with, but it definitely wasn't many. And then we just couldn't stay disciplined. They were in the bonus with 11:57 left in the first half. Um, yeah, and then Cohen, I talked a little bit about him earlier. He was just way too quiet, man. He came off some really strong performances at Purdue, at Indiana, against Rutgers, and he was really aggressive in those games. In this game, he just disappeared. I don't know what it is with him and when we have like a super big game besides the Purdue game, but he just kind of disappears and he doesn't create for himself, and he's has to. He's one of our best players. And yeah, and I felt like at the end of the game too, we didn't really have a sense of urgency. Uh, I know the game was getting far away and we were down like 10 with 4 minutes left, which is still a game. Anything could happen. It just felt like we had no sense of urgency. We weren't trying to get down the court and score quickly. We were just taking our time still and going. Um, yeah, we were just going at our slow pace. And then, like, at the end of the game, Jeremy, with 2 minutes left, decided he just wanted to keep driving and getting layups instead of trying to create a three-point shot, which we needed desperately. And then scoring droughts are becoming a really big problem. We consistently go on a 5 minute, 6 minute scoring drought, which scoring droughts are part of the game. You can't avoid it, but 5 or 6 minutes is crazy. We really got to limit that down. And especially the times when we go on scoring droughts, terrible. Um, Last thing I'm gonna talk about, and it needs to be said. Uh, Wojcik can't be on the court, especially in a big game like this. I don't care if he plays against Rutgers or Minnesota or whatever. But like, okay, well, I can tell when I can say when he has a good game, when he has a bad game, and the good thing he does. But what I will say is I don't necessarily blame him, and I heard this on different like podcasts, and I really liked what he said. I don't think this is necessarily on Wojcik. I think it's on our coaching staff for playing him, and especially in the moment we did play him in the second half. was probably the worst time they could have played them
We
because
finally had a lead.
we were up 61 to 57 or whatever. We went on a really good run. We were hot. And then all of a sudden we take Jeremy out right as we get hot.
And flatline.
And yeah, then we just went flat. They went on an 11-0 scoring run, took the lead back, and we didn't see it again. Where I think if Jeremy would have stayed in the game, we could have held that lead for arguably the rest of the game. If not, like they would have gone on their run, of course, and made it close, but we wouldn't have gone into a 10-point deficit like we did. And he being in that game at that particular time just cannot happen. And like it's on our coaching staff to know. It's different giving Jeremy some resting minutes in the first half and because we can afford it, but especially in such a crucial time in the game when we're under 10 minutes to play and we finally take a lead after we're hot, you don't put someone in that makes our offense super stagnant and is a liability on defense. And that's exactly what happened in my opinion today. I think we lost that game because of that coaching mistake in that particular moment. I obviously anything could have happened. Call me crazy all you want, but I really believe that was the turning point in the game today.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. So that was 100% the turning point. Bad move. Blame it on the coaching staff, and then also Divine Ukuchuku's stupid foot for breaking because we'd be in a lot better position if we still had him. We wouldn't have to worry about this because I miss Divine very much. But
Right.
yeah, I think it was a terrible time to put him in the game. I literally every single time this season that Denim Wojcik goes in the game, doesn't matter if it's a big game or not, I go, oh, here we go. This is where our offense is just going to flatline and look terrible. Sometimes, yeah, he'll drive and he'll make a good pass. But like sometimes it's like the most obvious pass ever where someone's wide open. You're like, yeah, it was a good pass because he was open and someone scored off
We
of it.
had a terrible
Like,
one at Cohen.
that one is a
That
good
was
example. That would have changed momentum. Fears and Cohen are hitting that 99% of the time. But how do you overthrow Cohen? He just launched it over his head. Um,
yeah, the
but
overthrowing Cohen's crazy, dude.
But like it feels like every like little thing that he does well, everyone's just like, "Oh, Divine made a great pass today. I think he had a good game." Like one that I got annoyed with was they praised him a lot for this in the Indiana game where like they started to make a little comeback and then Divine makes a pass out to Kerr and
Yeah.
he hits a three. I'm sorry, that was not like some incredible pass that you like anyone like knowing like he literally drove and he kicked out to a wide open person that hit a
I
three.
mean, it
And if
was a good
anything,
read though, because
it
his
was, but if
body.
anything, if anything, he was wide open and he threw it below his knees, and Kerr had to go bend down and shoot it and whatever.
Yeah, I
Like
mean
it's like
it was a
it's
tough
a
pass though because it wasn't like he just like swung it over. He drove and it created the opportunity for Kerr to be open and someone was reaching in, his body was twisting and then he kicked it out. So I kind of disagree with that one because that was a good pass. It was a good find. Yes, he was wide open, but he also helped Kerr create that shot.
Anyways, that's a different game, but I agree with you. It's just the down stuff. It's really gonna irritate me in these two tournaments when we're gonna have to put him in, and they just I mean obviously Jeremy he needs to get some bit of rest, but you have to pick those spots differently and more smart because we could not afford that. And I definitely agree it changed momentum. But just to get into some of my negatives, we already kind of touched on it a little bit. Just the freshmen struggled mightily. Um, Jordan played good on defense, but offensive end, he was pretty bad. He was just struggling. He was one of those guys where I think where you mentioned that we were hesitating to shoot. He did a lot of pump fakes and then extra stuff. He had one towards the end of the game. It was kind of a critical moment where he got open. He had an open three look. He hesitated, he pump faked, and then he drove. But before he did that, he stepped out of bounds, and then he hit the midi after the whistle was blown. But just stuff like that, he really struggled. And then Cam, I think, had one of his worst games of his freshman year so far. Just immediately coming into the game, just fouling anyone that was in front of him. Couldn't stay on his feet, couldn't stay disciplined. He was bad offensively. One possession that really irritated me with him was he had a post touch with just Elliot Cadeau on him, and he just kind of did this little sloppy little pound dribble, put the ball right in Cadeau's chest, and then just kind of flailed it and lost it out of bounds. I think that was just a terrible looking play.
Yeah.
But overall, the freshmen struggled, and I just put the bench struggled in general. Only thing we got from the bench was Kurtang hitting a couple threes, and that's about it. The rest was completely put on the starters that game, which we said coming into the game, which would have been critical that we did not put all the work on the starters yet again, but we did do that. Um, I just wrote down another bad finish. I think a lot of our losses have come down to like, especially against good teams, whether it's Michigan both times. During the first time we had to come back, um, we came back a long way, put it because of the bad start. But we came back, took a lead, and then once we lost it, we just lost it and it ran away from us. I think that happened again in this game. Just had a bad like last 3 to 4 minutes, 5 minutes ish. Same thing in the Duke game. We led pretty much the whole way through. We were competitive the whole way through, and then the last 2 or 3 minutes, we kind of lost it again. Seems like all these big games, we're fighting with them. We're right neck and neck with those tough teams, and then we just kind of lose it at the end. So it's just kind of unfortunate, and hopefully we can fix that when it comes to March because it's one and done. So we really got to work on finishing games stronger, and that goes into what you said earlier about all of our scoring droughts. Like it seems like whenever we're going scoring droughts, it just comes in a terrible time. And then we're running out a little bit of time here, so I'll just go through the last one really quick. Tom Izzo touched on this in his post game a lot too, but one thing that stuck out to him where just all of our ball screen coverages, I think they shot really well from three because we were really poor on the ball screens, whether that be guys not hedging properly or they just were allowing them to get straight downhill off of the ball screens, and they're either getting good looks at the rim with it, or that contributed to a lot of Yaxel's kickouts where they would just drive down the lane and then kick to the corner. Yaxel was wide open because they got past him, and the guy that was on help side had to dig even more to stop the driver, and then they just left the person on the wing wide open. So I think that contributed to a lot of their threes and a lot of their momentum swinging shots, because a lot of the momentum swinging shots were just threes that were just felt like daggers to the heart when we finally got some confidence. Um, but yeah, that's what I have for the negatives. Do you have any other thoughts before we just quickly go into moving on to
No, I
turn?
covered everything I wanted to say.
All right, so it is now officially, I mean, it's been March, but it is now officially March. So all we have left are the two tournaments with the Big Ten tournament and the March Madness tournament. Um, we don't quite know who Michigan State's playing quite yet. It will come down to, how the other games go. But as of right now, I believe we play at 8:30 or 9 p.m. on Friday. And I think the three teams that'll come down to is UCLA, Rutgers, and Minnesota, I want to say. But yeah, we'll have
I
to,
want to see Rutgers.
yeah, because apparently Rutgers is our kryptonite. But
Yeah,
I think all signs honestly point to how both teams are playing. We might get a rematch on Sunday between Michigan and Michigan State. So
hopefully. I want a rematch.
yeah, other than that, that has been this sad recap, frustrating recap. But we will see you guys in the next one. Go green.
Go Whites.